This is just a little bit of an interview I think more people should see because I really like how the man handled it.
Former White House Communications Director Anthony Scaramucci. And Anthony, look, and obviously you're joining us. Everyone should see, just because I see the background, from Rome tonight, where they're watching this race as closely probably as we all are. But look, Florida, a crucial swing state. The president there, of course, he won it by a percentage point. Ed points out rightly, Fox News and everybody else's polls did not show that on the eve of the election. Nonetheless, the president is looking at polls now that show him losing to Joe Biden and Bernie Sanders handily. How worried are you about Democratic enthusiasm for turnout in Florida?
Well, listen, I think we would all accept that it's very early, and we could point to people like Howard Dean that had huge leads at this point, and so on and so forth. So I am a little more worried than I would be in 2016 because the president is not a novelty anymore, and he is running on a track record. And so, I've often said on this network and other networks, what the president is doing has been astounding. He's got a great economic record to run on. How he sometimes does it, however, I think is creating a headwind for him. And so what I'm hoping is he goes back to the State of the Union address, that sort of communication style.
No, I disagree with him here. I think how he's doing it is actually helping him. But, yeah, and there's not much here, but I do think that how he's doing it has helped him. Because it doesn't matter how he does it. You could be the most polite person ever. He can use all these other words. I'm sorry, but I do believe him talking the way he does actually helps him. Talking more like a real person and not like a distant politician.
Aaron, and he uses that over the next 6 to 9 months. I think that would really help him a great deal because it would calm people down. And so for me right now, I would say it is very, very early.
No, people being calmed down is not a good thing. We don't need people calm. We need people to go out there and vote and show how much of America really is Republican.
But he is no longer a new entity like he was in 2016.
All right. And now, nationally, there's a Fox poll, which is interesting because when he tweets about that, he sort of is talking about how he's confused by it, whereas if it came from anybody else, it's fake news. But it's Fox, so he didn't want to call it that. And in the Fox poll, he trails Joe Biden by 9 points. This is nationally. Anthony. Bernie by 9. Bernie Sanders. And within the margin of error against Elizabeth Warren, Kamala Harris, and Pete Buttigieg. He is pretending that his own internal polls don't show him losing key states, which, of course, all that leaked out, and we know they do show that. Again, this is early, but that's what they show. And he has been clear, of course, as you know, that he loves polls, and only good polls, and everything else he ignores. Here he is.
You see her smiling because she has complete control up right now? Because she's like, oh, I have him, and I can't wait till we get to the end, because I'm about to destroy Trump and the supporter and make him look really bad. You see that smile, right?
I love those polls when they're good. Now, if they're no good, I don't report them. The Los Angeles Times has us 6 points up nationwide. Good poll. If it weren't, I wouldn't be telling you about it, I promise. If we're doing badly, I don't know about polls. No, it's true. When we do badly, I don't know about polls, right? But when we're doing well, I know about polls.
He's acknowledging that, and he's joking about it. And, well, yeah, I don't trust polls either way, honestly, because they can clearly be wrong. Hillary was supposed to 100% win, but whatever.
Okay, laughing aside, do you think he realizes that he has headwinds and that he needs to start moving?
No. I do, and I would say that he had headwinds in...
Does he realize he has headwinds? Yeah? I mean... Why wouldn't he realize he's had wins? He has won the election, after all. That is a major win. He's had wins. I don't know, what kind of question is that? Does he even realize he's had wins? Yes, he does, and he talks about it all the time when he gets a win.
4 years ago when he launched the campaign, and he was 22 points behind Jeb Bush. And so, yeah, he absolutely has headwinds. The reason I'm laughing is, like Steve Jobs and most entrepreneurs, they create this reality distortion field around themselves, and they try to will themselves to the reality that they want. And so in the case of the president last time, there was a lot of mixed polls, Erin. We both know that.
Yep.
Maybe the LA Times had a good poll and Rasmussen had a good poll, but there were a lot of really negative polls leading up into Election Day. And so I think the president is going to pick and choose the polls that he likes. That's obvious. He did that before. But the real question is, will he be able to turn things on in a way and close the gap in the polls that you're looking at and the polls that I'm looking at?
All
And
right.
I predict that he will, because he just has such a very strong economy to run on.
All right. One thing, though, he's running on, right, and his whole thing is promises made, promises kept, and certainly he has plenty of those. One of the first, though, and the biggest, and certainly the most often made to this entire country that nobody could ever forget is this one.
I will build a great, great wall on our southern border, and I will have Mexico pay for that wall. Mark my words. I promise we're building the wall, and Mexico will pay for the wall. I promise. In the end, Mexico...
Okay, well, dating back to 2015, he said that Mexico wasn't going to directly pay for the wall. They were going to pay through tariffs and other means. But we were going to initially pay for the wall.
For the wall. They're going to pay for the wall, and they're going to enjoy it, okay?
Alright, now this is the part. This is the slam dunk. No, he doesn't get into the whole, well, Trump didn't say Mexico's going to directly pay for the wall. But even with him either not knowing about that or whatever, he's on CNN. I guess he honestly believes that Trump meant Mexico will pay with a paycheck right away. But now, even with that, he still slam dunks this woman, who was all smug and laughing because she has it all in control.
Does he think not keeping that promise actually helps him as a rallying call?
See, look how smug she is. Oh, I got him with this question. Does he... First of all, I'm sitting there, I don't even know how to answer that question. I'm sorry. I'm sitting there like... What do you mean? Because, first of all, not keeping a promise. There's some wall built. He's been fighting for the wall and all this other stuff. Like, I'm sorry. That's literally, you're setting them up to fall. That's not a legitimate question. That's not an unbiased question. You're trying to set them up to fail question.
Well, I would say that he would look at it probably. I think the part of the narrative is going to be that he's been trying to keep that promise. And you may remember prior to the midterms, he was trying to cut a deal on the Dreamers, the whole DACA situation, to get border funding for the wall. Now that would have came from the United States and the taxpayer, of course. So I think it's a hard promise for him to keep. But I think he can go down a list of things, and unfortunately, he's in the political world now. And a lot of things that you sometimes promise you can't quite meet, but there's a whole list of...
Now, all of a sudden, she's losing. Look, she's coughing, and she's not talking, she's looking down. She's like, he's done it.
Promises, Aaron, that he has been able to keep, and one of them is wage growth. So you have an interesting situation. You have real GDP growth, very low inflation, but for the bottom 10% of earners, you've got about a 5.4% wage increase since he became president. I hope he runs on that. I think that's the right narrative for the run on. But you're right, and I'll cede that to you. He has not been able to make that promise, but there is a whole host of other promises that he's come in on, which I think his base certainly likes.
And then it just ends. Right there. Right there. They're gonna come back from that. It just ends. Oh, this is great. This is just great. CNN host just gets annihilated on her own show, and she knows it. Look at that. She's looking down in a way.